Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the greatest player in the history of the game in the blue, the finisher. It's Serral. But he's up against the Protoss that we don't deserve. But the Protoss we so desperately need right now. Protoss needs a hero. A best of 5 Zerg versus Protoss showdown. And if there's anyone, if there's any of the Firstborn who's going to take down the King in the North, it's the Smiling Assassin. So whether you want to see Serral repeat lore-accurate history and wipe the Protoss off the map, or herO with a heroic defense, either way, it'd be awesome. Before we get started, if you could like, and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? What? 1,398 likes on this video, on this cast. I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. herO with a sneaky Stargate to start things off. Serral's scouring the map because he was actually bamboozled by herO simply putting the Stargate slightly off to the side. That little bit of hidden information already throwing Serral a little bit off to start things. But the response is still going to be similar. And a Void Ray is on the way to kick things off. The legacy of the Voids is a varied one, where once they were considered one of the strongest units in the matchup. For a few years, they were buffed. They cost less, as well as built faster. But that was reverted, and now Phoenixes and Oracles are a much more common sight. But speaking of sight, that Void Ray can deny the Overlord any more vision. And that leaves a lot open to educated guesswork. So, herO starting things off. Obviously, there's a Stargate. It doesn't take a mathematical genius to put that together. But behind it, is it going to be a quick Twilight? Is it going to be more Stargate units? More Oracles? Even more Void Rays? It's rare, but it's certainly plausible. herO, despite having maybe less mechanical prowess than even some other Protoss, he's such a wild card. He has this killer instinct that allows him to take wins and take tournaments off of players who might theoretically be more have solid micro, solid macro. This is sounding like a backhanded compliment, and it is, but herO has that kind of X factor that the craziest and most successful Protoss have had throughout the history of StarCraft 2. MC, the Boss Toss, Parting, the Big Boy, SOS, the Trickster. These players have all had something. Zest. They've all had this sort of extra style of Protoss that wasn't just solid execution, but a level of confidence in what they're about to do, no matter how successful it ends up being, that intimidates their opponents into a tough position. And that's a long-winded way of saying that Void Ray keeps it going. Meanwhile, Serral has a lair on the way, not taking any sort of odd angles here. He's acutely aware of how dangerous that herO is, and is literally and figuratively covering all his bases. More queens in production, a lot of gas, 62 drones and counting. Lair on the way, Zerglings poking and prodding everywhere, keeping track of as much as he can. He can't get into the base, while herO has not used the Selecto Army Hotkey. So what is this wall off? Thanks, I hate it. That's certainly an interesting one, but 3 more gates on the way. It's going to be the +1 blink pressure. Blink Stalkers give you aggressive potential, but if you don't go blink, if you go charge, if you go adepts, you don't have really a built-in response to the Spire, and your units don't scale as well. So while blink is more expensive, Stalkers are just a more expensive unit. They also, speaking of Spire, the Mutaden is on the way. As Serral might be suspecting, will we cancel the Spire on seeing these Blink Stalkers? Because now it's clearly going to be the blink timing. And there is a chance that Serral takes critical damage from a well-executed Blink Stalker attack. Because Roaches and Lings do not trade as well on even supply. But the Void Ray out in front. The Stalkers poking at the Queens. And the rest of the units coming in. Zerglings, but slips away with a blink. A small stasis. Able to catch a handful of lings there, assuming you can fit like 4 lings in your hand, which doesn't seem too unrealistic, but that is so many stalkers. And suddenly, there's more stalkers than there are roaches, just a handful of zerglings, a few queens pulled off the line, but this is the danger. This is why you can't just rush into mutas, is you might be found without anything on the ground to deal with the critical mass of stalkers. Well, he hasn't broken through yet. The queens still able to absorb a lot of the damage. As we've established in the past, they can certainly take a pounding, but the Roach, Ling, Ravager, zoning things out. The Spire is completed, and 3 mutas on the way. I think just something. Now, Serral is very well aware of herO's strengths and weaknesses. His strengths, that sort of full frontal attack, that the micro overall, especially with Blink Stalkers. The weaknesses are a surprising inability to defend and attack at the same time because of his liberal use of the Select All Army hotkey. Well, Warp Prism split off. Corrosive Biles actually blinks over the top. Oracle burns through a few of the Ravagers, and the Mutas will find the Prism. An endangered species in this matchup, because when you have a Stargate, you usually have the response, and the Oracle out in front. Down goes the Prism, or yes, the Prism, and the Oracle still flying around. Phoenix is on the way. Now, that is part of the reason, well, most of the reason why, 1, you go Stargate as Protoss, and 2, why mutas are not a common choice, is because that Stargate exists, and 2 or 3 Phoenixes can chase mutas to literally the ends of the map. A lot of the time against top Protoss players, you have to chase them into the corner of the map because Phoenixes can attack while moving, and they outrange mutas. So there's no reason they should be touched. But speaking of touch, those Templar grab each other, hold each other, and will not be getting Psionic Storm, but instead merging into Archons. Quite a tucked-in location here. 7 probes dead to the mutas, but herO comfortable enough to just sit back and defend. Whereas Serral is taking advantage of the temporary map control afforded by the Mutalist to get a Hive, get a Lurker Den, get speed upgrades for pretty much everything else, and stabilize his economy at 80 drones, 4 bases. No macro hatches or anything like that, but pretty soon there's going to be no reason to sit back and defend. As every moment from this point forward that he sits back and lets herO build up, he's giving herO more opportunity to build the army he needs to crush through. Yes, Serral is going for lurkers, but herO already has Storm on the way. Does he have? He has 1 Robo, so that's not going to be a whole lot of Immortals. Takes out an Observer with Corrosive Bile. So, of course he does. And Serral expanding to both sides. But I do think he is giving up some of this timing here. He's allowing herO to get up to 200 supply, and he's going to have Templar. He's going to have well upgraded, or at least +2 charge lots, which is quite good at this stage of the game. The Zealots and now the Blink Stalkers on the left flank as well. The Fleet Beacon is started. herO willing to call to the skies a Ghost Sky toss, and now Serral will see it essentially the moment it's warped in. The mutas, he's dragging the entire army back. Oh, did not spot the stasis. Gets a lot of those units removed before they can close the distance on the cannons. Blunks forward. And for now, holding back. But Serral has kept herO busy, and now we'll have all those lurker upgrades on the way. Not forgetting adrenal glands, unlike many of his Zerg compatriots, but Rube Spawn's almost done. herO, though, not bothering with an all-out attack, but instead a second Cyber Core for upgrades. So Serral's making his Spire great again, and lurker range is on the way. Most importantly, I think Serral getting the gold base in the bottom left, and if herO allows that to go on for too long, well, the economic and financial outlook is devastating for a Protoss player, who's now investing in a much more complicated composition. The Stalker's getting chased down, but here come a handful of Stargate units to try to save the day. But the Roaches, honestly, at this point, Serral doesn't even want the Roaches anymore. Oh, wow, that's a lot of charge slots. They were kind of wandering around. Bit of Select All Army action, but no carriers, no Tempest in production yet. Are there any there are 12 lurkers on the field. And they're going to have, they already got the range upgrade. They're working on the quick burrow as well. And, well, the lurkers are scouted. The first spawn's ripping through, but the charge lots will drag things back. Another wave of charge lots. herO hitting to the north side as well. The army completely out of position. And herO, uncontested, takes out one of the hatcheries and is working on a much more important one now. The charge lots in the bottom left look like they'll be cleaned up. The backbone of the defense behind the mineral line, and more spawns come through. Seismic spawns. And the queen, Brenda, move! Oh my, oh, well, I guess this works. I don't... Another base taken. And mothership on the way. The bottom left corner, still intact. Serral, well, he took some superficial damage. Serral's a master of this. He can take damage, but somehow bounce back because the units he actually lost, he only lost in this, wow. He only lost Zerglings and 2 drones, well, and a hatchery, but the recall, herO! There's at least 1 Templar, that's a House Templar now. Another Templar moves, sir. A mothership is on the way. What was that? herO blunks in with the Stalkers, loses almost all of them, but he kills the hatch. A base trade, and he's trading so many resources for it. herO is playing this kind of like Terran versus Zerg right now, I bet. And another wave. A small Sporchard out in front. Carriers have arrived. And +2 carrier weapons. Okay, sorry, air weapons on the way. But let's be honest here. Mothership. A dangerous option. So, the mothership, this is very important to note. Here you can consult this diagram we have here. If you look here, you'll see a mothership. And very important to note, it's made out of paper. So you have to be very careful with it. But the Time Warp reducing both movement and attack speed, and in my opinion, the most important part of the mothership is the tactical recall. Having a secondary option for moving around the map, and, you know, potentially using cloak. The queens assassinated with a smile, metaphorically, as Protoss don't have mouths. You can smile with your eyes. The Nidus, though, to the north side. 3 cloaks, not a huge deal here, as only, well, if he targets down the spores, he's gonna blast the base, but to the top right, roaches and ravagers breaking through. 15 drones down. Is he gonna recall back to the north? It's just roaches. He should eventually be able to deal with this, maybe even warping in some of those Dark Templars. He made a shrine to his best frenemy, Dark. And indeed he does. One of the Dark Templar just running right off, but the rest of them working through, and herO not taking the bait on the recall. The DT, well, 2 DTs, will drive him back into the Nidus. What a game to start things off. herO clearly not intimidated by Serral's strong arm tactics here, and he shoved him around. Serral actually not maxed out, not for lack of trying, or actually for lack of trying, as he hasn't decided yet what to max out with, but herO about to really make his decision for him. There's a bunch of corruptors on the way. Oh, what am I? What? Oh, that's a changeling. Wait. Yes. All right. Thoughtful. No, you can't come with us. Meanwhile, Tempest as well. herO is really limiting Serral's economy, and he has the army to beat. It's gonna come down to whether there's anything to dismantle. Lifts the lurkers up into the sky, yanks out one of the carriers, knocks it down with the corruptors, but Time Warp doesn't actually even finish off the carrier. The corruptors are melting under the withering storms, and the spore crawlers are dead. I don't even know if there's any detection left. Serral's struggling with the Sky Toss army. There's a bunch of Immortals and Archons pounding the point home underneath, and he recalls back to the base. The Templar almost get eviscerated by the lurkers upon being recalled, but Serral actually pulls back before he gets those swipes off to save the lurkers. But right now, Serral is getting outmaneuvered by herO's well-positioned Protoss army. Oh my. Full energy Templar. I think that's the one that was left behind from the recall. Gets taken down. Oracle's out in front, lives off some of the lurkers. The fungal comes through. Changeling's out in front of everything. Mothership. The queens are just wandering underneath. No, it's a disaster. But for who? Somebody call a medevac. Meanwhile, Storm's chasing down the Corruptors. We'll just have to see how many carriers are left over. The Broodlords raining down overhead. Is there enough left? Another wave of Stalkers comes up. The queens are dead. There's no transfuses really ready. Just a single queen. The Broodlings bar the gates and will drive the Stalkers out. The carriers, still 2 of them. The supplies plummet for both sides. But I think herO actually with a successful attack. Because herO still has most of his bases. He has more workers. And he kept some of the carriers alive. Overall, a victory for the Korean Protoss. He reinforces. He takes out yet another queen. And now Serral, who's usually able to put on a Grandmaster class in these late game scenarios, is now finding himself in need of some education. herO just stepping it up and knocking it out of the park so far. He's done. Some of the specific details may have room for improvement, but again, he's willing to trade so many units so far. Where are those broodlings going? Oh my. A DT cleans up. The Nidus finally gets killed. I love how Serral put it in the corner where there's kind of a vision blocker, so it wasn't. herO didn't even find it until now. But he's cleaning it up. Serral, we've seen him come back from these desperate scenarios before. If anyone could do it, obviously it's this man. But herO has. Hey, hey guys. The probe hunting changelings. Oh, sounds like a kid show. But with more murder. Protoss kids. And now the income dramatically shifted, evening out once Serral's able to reestablish his bases. But if Serral was struggling with a bank, the mothership gets spotted, clearly going for a potential secondary recall towards the... Is that an immortal at the... Yeah, of course. Yeah, why not? Good luck out there. Immortal at the watchtower. The DTs, Archon merge, Mothership coming back to defend as this battle escalates into something surprisingly dramatic. Mothership will give a deep tissue massage to those roaches. And also do something resembling damage. Neural Parasite on the way. That is Mothership number 2. The first one did die. Wow, there's so much going on. I missed that. I guess it didn't really register compared to the entirety of both armies melting. Oh, but here comes Serral. He's going to try to jump on it. Parasitic Bomb on top of the carriers and then dives. Fungal. Wombo combo. Feedbacks onto the Vipers. Broodlings raining down. Down goes a carrier. A Tempest. But the Corruptor count is thinning out. There's still Storms. Another Fungal. Another carrier down. 3 Tempests left. Broodlord still chasing. Some detection. Traps an Immortal. Takes it out. The Tempest still working. Maybe another Templar goes down to the Broodlings. But Serral holds. Just barely. More Stalkers coming in. The Broodlord and faster. No, the Select All Army Immortal. It came from the Watchtower just to die to the Broodlords. But... oh, no. There's just not that much anti-air. There's 3 Corruptors. Which, and if you needed if you just trust me, bro, it's not very much. Is there detection? Yes, he revelated just one of those infestors. Neural Parasite, if he's able to turn this army against him. Serral's starting to realize if he doesn't do something now, it's going to be a lot closer to never. And, well, never it is. GG! herO wins game number 1. And Serral looked a little lost. He was never able to capitalize on the tech advantage that, well, I don't think he really had it. The Mutas were a detour, but they end up costing him arguably more than they gained. Like, going for the Spire and having it is good, but it took him so much longer to get to Lair, to get to Lurkers, and herO took full advantage because by the time the Lurkers were out and able to do anything on the map, herO had an army to deal with it. The Storms, the Immortals, he transitioned into the Fleet Beacon before it was needed. So many times when Protoss die, it's because they're so late on getting that late game tech. But not this time. herO playing confidently and a little bit crazy. So that's exactly the style he needs to replicate to take this home. Wow, what a game though. Like, it's always interesting when the biggest mistakes are strategic. And mistakes is a very strong interpretation of the word. More like decisions that end up not working out. Like Serral not capitalizing on a 40-50 supply lead, instead sitting back and being so comfortable. Because Serral 9 times out of 10, more like 10 times if we're really rounding, but okay. So herO loves to stress everyone out by putting a pylon in the wall. So that allows you to build a full wall off without having a second gate. Usually you need 2 gates, like some simple geometry out there. But usually you need 2 gates and a cyber core, and you lay it out in a certain way. It's much less vulnerable, but at the same time, it becomes, it's a pylon. It's a lot easier to kill than anything else. So, is it worth? Well, another part of it is just being able to get more tech earlier and potentially hiding it, because there's no way for the Zerglings to get in so early. Especially if he goes pool first. But as many times as it seems to help, it... well, that was unfortunate. Serral going straight for that center base. The one with the rich Vespine gas. That has to... well, some alarm bells gonna go off. But a typical play is... here on Crimson Court, you don't, especially as Zerg, you don't really want to play out of later game, as it's so hard to expand to the side lanes. And they very much are lanes, as you literally... oh, and of course a Zergling gets in. One of his many special powers. You literally can't expand to the side lanes without either going through a mineral wall or a wall of rocks. There is actually no way to just walk over and expand. So, it isn't really metaphorical. It's an extra kind of DLC content, especially for Zerg players, but also Protoss to an extent. Terrans, of course, can fly their buildings, which kind of bullshit, right? Like, what the Fleet Beacon. No, this is not a late game transition. This is a he's carrier rushing. Tempest? I don't. The beacon is lit, and herO is calling for aid. Will the Protoss answer? Is this? I think Tempest. Because carriers, I don't think carriers are any good, like, as a rush. But this man is... what the... he's getting kinetic, tectonic destabilizers. The anti-building, it gives a bunch more damage to buildings. Allowing you to just... disintegrate spore crawlers, hatcheries. The thing is, Tempest, a very costly unit. Not as costly as carriers, but still huge investment early. And the queens, well, queens are good, but the thing, if you don't have a spire, it's disaster. Okay, Serral testing it. Yeah, it looks weird, doesn't it? Like, the Zerglings just making sure. There is a gap, but the box... don't worry about it. All right, regulations. Here come the two Tempests. And Serral, well, Brenda, what are those? Get over here, Susan. Get off Reddit. Yeah, but they're saying mean things about us. It's the internet. They're always saying mean things. Now deal with these Tempests. How? Well, we'll figure that one out as we go along. Anyways. I'm sorry, I blacked out for immediately getting a Spire is Serral, acknowledging that the queens are not going to be enough. He gets through the mineral wall and just going for the huge counterattack while the Tempests continue shelling, but the queens are closing the distance. And he's not looking at the Tempests and gets one. The Tempests don't do that much damage to the queens. They're much better suited for buildings, somewhat oddly. The Zealot holding the inside gate there. More queens closing in. And a much more efficient choice. Thing is, like, Serral has chosen, like, your opponent's doing something weird. As a great man once said, shout out to DJ, when your opponent's doing something weird, go fucking kill him. And here we are. Serral just slaps down the third base. The queens effectively body blocking. It's caught another one. The Void Rays on the way. Massive Void Ray against Corruptors is certainly a strong choice. Another queen. 5 probes dead. Serral at 69 drones. And that's a good enough, nice enough economy to deal with this. Losing that third. The thing is, Tempests just don't scale. It becomes a lot easier and easier as the economies get higher and the army supplies. You need to do critical damage early. Otherwise, the counter swing, well, it's already done a whole bunch of damage. But here come the Void Rays! They light up flux veins. On the way, Void Ray speed. I've got to list off all the upgrades that you may not have seen. Especially if you're a newer viewer, or you went into a coma for 10 years and pretended other games were actually better than this one because you could actually play them without having a panic attack. And then finally, now that you're in your 30s and you kind of settled down, you realize that StarCraft 2 was the best game all along. Sure, you're still not playing it, but you'll watch videos every day. You'll think, maybe I know better than these pro players. And then most of you will realize, no, I don't. And that pro players are actually human beings for the most part. Arguably, and they make mistakes, but they're still ridiculously good, despite those mistakes they make. And at the end of the day, you're just enjoying watching the best game in the world. And arguably, it makes your day just a little bit better. So, with that said, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. And he's like, more Void Race, more Void Race. What did I do in 4v4 to get to the Gold League? More Void Race. A legitimate and unprovoked massive Void Ray build out of herO, who, contrary to popular belief in Serral's best efforts, is not dead, but instead actually has 4 bases, as Corruptors, kind of much like Tempests, have such a relatively small niche that it's hard to transition from getting mass Corruptor into actually winning the game, because Temp has only an anti-air unit whose anti-ground capabilities include essentially publicly urinating on buildings and eventually melting them, which is both gross and mostly ineffective. But here we go, Serral. Gonna go for it. Caustic Spray. It takes a few seconds to build up to its full damage. The Void Rays are so fast! He's trying to kite back, even without the charge up. The charge up on the Void Rays, the prismatic alignment, only does extra damage to armored units, which does not include Queens or Ravagers. And here come the Queens. The Ravagers at the front. The creep spread on the doorstep as they have slowly trudged across. Serral has lost 9 Queens so far, but he has 11 on the field. Mothership halfway done. Man, transfuses onto the Corruptors. Wow. Well, again, this base, like, we've arrived! Lucio, get in here! Come on, everyone! Well, meanwhile, the Corruptor's just fighting. He thinks he has enough to win this. And I think I'm agreeing with him at this stage. Down go the Void Rays. The Tempest taken down. The Nexus is forfeit. The army is non-existent. And herO is wiped out of the sky. And Serral puts himself on the board. Game 2 to the finisher. herO with one of the craziest styles. A legitimate, like, straight-up Diamond League ladder cheese. And he almost made it work. But Serral pulls it together. I think herO just... He didn't find... It wasn't clear what he was trying to accomplish with the initial Tempest. Like, he just kind of threw him out there like, let's see what happens. And if Serral lets that go on long enough, eventually herO fills in a ground army underneath. And then it gets real dangerous. But... at the end of the day, Serral pulls it together. And deals with it. We're all tied up 1-1 going into Alcyone. The Void Rays make a lot of sense, but the big issue with these fleet beacon plays, everything costs so much supply. Tempest at 5 supply, Void Rays at 4. It's not an upkeep cost, but there's kind of a tax on going for these units. You just got to construct so many additional pylons that it is hard to get anything else in a timely manner. It's hard to get charge lots or storm or immortals. So eventually the Zerg, who's mostly reliant on just the mineral-based queens that are only 2 supply apiece, despite their relative thickness, well, are able to pull it together. And again, herO's just trying to reinvent the wheel here. He's coming up with a trapezoid on every map. He's got the weirdest wall off. Serral has yet to punish him for it. Maybe this is the way. All right, maybe the conventional wisdom in general does not seem to serve Protoss well. You can play theoretically perfect, and a lot of the time still lose. But when you come in like a drunken brawler, you're just as likely to hurt yourself as your opponents, but yeah, at least you're unpredictable. Stargate as well. herO's kind of jammed it out to the back. He's kind of hidden the Stargate every game, but obviously it's the strong suspicion. You go for Stargate in this matchup. Not going for Stargate is an outlier in and of itself. I'd say maybe 10 upper end 20% of the time you see no Stargate, because the Stargate gives you everything you need and a lot of the things you want. Let's go into more explanation than just leaving that wide open and sounding profound without saying anything, which is most of my commentary. But with the Oracle, you have early scouting, early harass, and you build up to energy for stasis, revelation. Like, it's the Swiss Army knife for Protoss. The Void Ray denies scouting, is a much more direct response to Roach All-Ins, and if you don't have a Stargate baseline early on, you're much more vulnerable to mutas. Like we saw in Game 1, Serral did go mutas, and they were unscouted, and they did some damage, but as soon as the Phoenixes came out, they were essentially invalidated. And herO didn't have to reach far for him, as he already had the Stargate done. Is that Void Ray intentionally? Oh, he just boxed it with the probe. Overlord trying to get some scouting done, but it's not going to be doing much more anymore. Third base on the way. 1 gate. Now this, I think, is why he goes for this wall off. Able to wall off with only investing 1 gate, so he can get his third base obscenely quick. And the Void Ray denies scouting of any potential follow-up. And then, of course, Oracles for the more standard mid-game. So herO with a greedy third, but Serral very low on the list. Like, let me check the names. Nope, not Dark. So very low on the list of players who's going to try to punish him for a slightly quicker third. but instead someone who's much more likely to sit back, defend, and try to build up the deadly army to deal with it. Are you insane? Don't... What? It's like, yeah. I learned my lesson. Get a third base and then go for mass. This might be carriers. The third base, I think, is more carriers. We will see. But that does remind me of, like, back in Wings of Liberty, like the end of Wings of Liberty, the not the infestation bit, but the Infestor Broodlord meta that we saw a lot of the time, especially against Skytoss, the Mass Void Ray. And over time, a lot of people lost interest in that sort of meta. So a lot of these things were nerfed. The Void Rays no longer charge up just by A moving, and it is carriers, by the way. But eventually Heart of the Swarm rolled around. On the bright side, that made me Kerrigan. So. Two carriers at a time. Twilight Council on the way. Already. So, herO is preparing for the counter swing. Usually you add the carriers in as the icing on the cake, but now he's getting the icing and then the cake. Which is a weird metaphor in general because Protoss don't have cakes. Because they don't have mouths. So, a carrier surprise timing. Oracle comes in, almost dies outright. Gets 3 drones. The Adepts pinned up, but already shading away. What? Why did you cancel them? He's like, this Oracle will save the day. The Oracle did not save the day. And herO, what are you doing? Does he even have any units? Is he still on? No, the wall! No, what? Serral, it's... What? He's like, no, you do not. This is not the base you want to go into. herO's mind tricks there, despite his select all army usage and his clear panic. For some reason, Serral doesn't dive into the main. I think worrying about losing all these Zerglings, but like, have the carriers been spotted? There's the Templar Archives already on the way. Charge +1. He's already got all the fixins. That's not a wall. He could get in. You could get in. I feel like it's not registering in Serral's head. Yes, obviously you don't want to lose all those Zerglings, but it's not registering that he can go in because who would just leave the door open? Well, he keeps not having anything there. It's not a trap. It's just a mistake. What is this? The Hydras are just slowly, without their speed upgrade, just wandering across the field. There is an argument to be made that keeping these Zerglings alive, even if, like, just denying the 4th base is certainly a strong goal. Ultralisk Cavern. Oh, wow. What? This is crazy. 4 queens at a time. Is he gonna go herO lisks? Which, somewhat ironic terminology. Like, the mass queen into just transfusing ultras so they're nearly unkillable. But speaking of unkillable, there's going to be immortals. And down goes the Oracle. Somehow survived this long, but herO, that's a trigger to move out. There's a Spire on the way. +1 in the air. In fact, the air upgrades are quite delayed. These carriers not going to be doing too much damage overall. This might be an occasion for Microbial Shroud. In fact, I think it is. As, well, there's a couple Templar. herO real ambitious going this far onto the creep. That is a lot of carriers. 6 carriers. And here come the queens. That Microbial Shroud reduces the damage from the carriers, but it does nothing but provide a target for the storms. It reduces damage from air units by 50%. which since the carriers don't even have attack upgrades and the queens are about to have +1 carapace, I mean, they're mostly just scratching them. That 2 spore crawlers will politely yet firmly ask those carriers to leave, but should probably burrow first. That is not... Yeah, fighting in that watchtower choke point is certainly not an ideal moment. Adrenal glands on the way. Serral forgot it, but it's a testament to Serral that the moment he saw them attacking these buildings, he realized, oh, I don't have adrenal. One of the few times I've actually seen a Zerg realize it mid-fight. It's more one of those things of like, did I get this yet? But Serral, the moment that he really watches the Zerglings attacking, realizes he's lacking something dramatic. But the Ultras are here to compensate. Now, are the charge lots enough? Meanwhile, the rest of the fight, the carrier's moving in. He's actually retreated. It's kind of an odd situation where the Ultra wants the correct concave against the charge lots. But chewing through a lot of them. Quite good against dealing with small groups of charge lots. Kind of what it's designed for. herO holding on to 4 bases. Serral now has 5. With 1 more drone. No parasites on the way. Greater Spire. Nearly completed. Ultra speed. And, well, transfuse it. But down goes one of the queens. That hatchery taken out without much effort. Three Ultras at a time. Sail's nearly maxed out. hero's already there. The Zerglings. Adrenal glands finished in 2 seconds. I don't know. That danger close! Disruptor's not the ideal unit. Is he gonna try to save it with the Prism? What's in the Prism? Templar. So he doesn't really want to drop those out because they're also vulnerable. The entire army chasing down these Zerglings. And now Burrow is going to make life very difficult. He does have observers, but he's burrowing all over the main base here. And herO really struggling to deal with this. Serral double expanding while the entire army chased down a couple dozen Zerglings. Ultras opening up the path. Mass Ultras against this ground army. Wait, what is his anti-air? Is it Queens and Hydras? As well as Infestors. Kind of a crazy exchange. Not even bothering with Corruptors, as he's had a mixed success with them so far. The Ultras, the choke point could be devastating. Disruptor shot, finds nothing. The Ultras chewing through everything on the outside of the watchtower. A lot of the army being cleaved in twain. The Templar coming out of the Prism, feedbacks across the Queen. Still a lot of energy left over. Fungal comes through. Zerglings in the main base. Changelings starting to delay. Did they get any of the buildings? I think they just get cleaned up. More cannons as herO has expanded to the top left, but the Ultras and Hydras, and he's bringing some Overseers just in case they're Dark Templar. I don't believe there's a Dark Shrine, no. Shield battery overcharged, but good luck. Only +1, +2 carapace now on the ground, but those Ultras. The Hydra's left behind. Just gonna run this army away as long as possible. 72 workers apiece. Actually burrows the Hydras in the corner. 3 more Stargates on the way. The rocks are opened up. Double Stargate. Well, 3 in total. But Charlotte chasing down the Queens. The full spellcaster complement here. Queens, Vipers, and Infestors for Serral. A lot to juggle. 10 Corruptors on the way. The Zerglings and a single Ultra gonna recall back. Is there a mothership? No mothership this game. Not bringing that ultimate unit with the army, but instead more reliant on the brute force. As Serral always has detection. He is very diligent about making sure he has those little details that can make or break a lot of these fights. Stasis, but the Ultras are so large they can just trundle through it, triggering it without getting caught. How many observe? 5 observers, most of them just following things around. That is quite a death ball. Disruptor volley obliterates just a single queen. And herO driven back. Well, not really driven back, just decides to reposition. Some ultras up to the north side. Another spire. Oh my god. Mass cannons. Right now, the cannons per minute. The CPM, 17 cannons. Over 1 per minute. Only a handful of spores for now. Huge, huge fungal. And that might be the trigger to go. Disruptor shots, flings them out, catches some of them, but parasitic bomb on top of the carriers. He dives in with the corruptors. He's storming his own carriers. The ultras underneath are just cleaving through the army. The sky toss is wiped out. The disruptors are empty. The stalkers are desperate. But Serral with a decisive, overwhelming victory in this fight. He caught him and he killed him. The beautiful fungal to start things off. The parasitic bomb on top of the carriers, catching the interceptors alongside it, jumping on it with the corruptor, so that way, even if herO storms the corruptors, he's catching his carriers. Now 4 immortals at a time, but herO has taken terrible, terrible damage, and it's going to be near impossible to recover. There are 8 broodlords on the way to help fight against that ground army. There's still ultras left over. Serral has money in the bank, and herO has just thoughts and prayers. The immortals blasting through. He needs the broodlords, actually. Without them, herO being so aggressive right now, it might actually work out to kill this hatchery. But he's losing so many probes. He's gonna lose the Nexus back at home. A base trade. He recalls 2 immortals, which is sad, really. Another immortal dead. herO's coming apart. There's no recovering from this. Serral showing that he is still very capable of dealing with that late game army. I think game 1 he kind of threw himself off with the tech progression, but this time around he's built everything he needed. Oh my, the Templar gliding across. There's still way too many cannons at that base. Serral can't really fight into it without... In fact, he sees those cannons. I was about to say a Baneling nest in order to break the defenses. Kind of crazy. I don't think we've seen Banelings at any point throughout this series. The Ravagerling Bane style kind of fallen by the wayside. Oh my god. He didn't get it. Oh my. Just stand there. Nope. Oh my god, he's trying to use the splat. And it still didn't work. Well, that's unfortunate. Not that I think it would make the difference whether he was able to kill that in a timely manner. And there's the cannon. He even got the first hit is the hilarious part, but I don't know if you can tell. Obviously, he was trying it, but... Baneling speed, the +3 upgrades. Now, Serral, he does run the slight risk of allowing herO to build such a death ball, yet again, that it could bring the game back. It's unlikely. But, and now this isn't game 1. Game 1, Serral had the supply lead, but he had a kind of terrible arm. Poaches and Lings are not the same as Ultras, Broodlords, and Infestors. Okay? More profound statements after you like and subscribe. But the Ultra corralling the Banelings, which are busting through and breaking the pylons. The defenses are gone. The probes are the reward. More probes dead, and herO got it yet again. The Zerglings actually get caught on the way back. herO fighting it out, but it feels like a death animation here. Like a long one, but Another Nexus dead. Serral unwilling to commit to a fight that he might lose. And, you know, that's... I think Sun Tzu said something about that. They said, when your opponent goes sky toss, don't throw the game, you noob. So waiting for herO to come back towards the creep. Actually, might get a couple of the Templar there. Serral building up. There are the Brood Lords, the Infestors. Yanks in an Oracle, knocks it out. More feedback, another beautiful fungal. And the Brood Lords raining down, and another one. The feedback's popping, Infestors. But he loses the majority of the ground army. So 6 more Infestors on the way. And herO just cannot replace these units. The supply gap has widened. The Broodlord, it's... If it was any other Zerg, there's a dream here that they throw their army away. herO has won, even against Dark, games like this where one misstep and this army can win the game on its own. You don't even need to have any income. You have the army right there. But it's Tempest and Templar, and right now looking very temporary. As Serral continues to build up. He's still being very careful. Does he have a neural parasite? He does. He has pretty much everything. That upgrades tab is over half the screen. The storms, but the broodlings are raining down, and most of the Templar are gone. One Templar survives the initial wave. The queens patch up the broods. But that... Right. Serral refilling. He's still maxed. herO lost his core units. Trying another Nexus, but now Serral's almost at full upgrades. He has maximum upgrades on the ground. He's at 2-3 in the sky. herO at +3 attack with +2 shields. His army's still very dangerous. God. 17 Broodlords. Infestors holding the watchtower and holding down these stalkers. It's a small victory, but he has enough Infestors. 11 Infestors. He can afford to throw out a few extra fungals, even if it's only catching some stalkers. Greater Spire Plus. I mean, there's no other upgrades to get. The patience is amazing, but... Oh, a bit... Getting antsy over here. Serral, finish him! No, the finisher says. All in due time. Oh, God. Even the changelings, they like to watch. Something ridiculous about the overkill of a Tempest Valley killing broodlings. And that is one of the main weaknesses of Tempest, is their overkill. If the Tempests are too stacked up, you'll have 5-6 Tempests firing building-sized energy balls at Zerglings. A single Zergling. It's very dead. Feels like at that point they should maybe do splash damage, but... Infestor Broodlord lives. Changelings. herO? He's really just hoping Serral gets antsy. Makes a huge... Like, I'm sure both players know that the likelihood of Serral winning is approaching 100%. But it's not there yet. There's still a dream. There's a oh, God. Oh, no. Well, in comes the mothership. He kills the Viper, but doesn't quite have the damage. He had +3. I think he gets it there. The Tempest still shelling. Knock out another Broodlord. Throws out a fungal. And Microbial Shroud to cover the retreat. Serral retreats again. herO? has mined out of 4 bases now. Well. The banelings. More probes dead. I think hero's had enough. He's decided, well, Serral has the half of his map. Or his half the map, I guess, is another way of phrasing it. 5k, 2k. He's certainly hedging his bets here. He's maxed on upgrades across the board. He has... Does he have every tech building? I think so. There's a lurker den. There's an ultra cavern. He has every. He's even upgraded lurkers despite... He has fully upgraded lurkers. He hasn't built any. I think he has every upgrade in the game. In fact, yes. Besides tunneling claws. And roach speed. In fact, he doesn't have any roach upgrades. So that's the one thing we're lacking here. But I don't believe he's made a roach this game, so... That's correct. 0 roaches. God, the Tempest just shelling. An Archon grabbed by a neural parasite. I'm starting to get disassociated with this game because it feels like it ended, but hero's still living. Borrows an Archon, which actually does real solid damage against the Tempest. Here come the Broodlings. That Archon is actually killing the Tempest. Oh my. The Broodlords are dying to Storm. But they're taking a long time in doing it. And hero's down to 50 supply, and that's it. All right, that's it. I'm calling this one. That's it. It's time to go, hero. 14 ultras on the way. That's enough, sir. 29 supply. There, well, I guess he has 2 Archons, so power underwhelming. 14. That is the closest thing we'll get to Serral BMing his opponent. He's like, are you kidding me right now? And we never get to see it, but... GG. Serral takes another one and goes up to match point. Wow. He took his sweet time getting there, but... herO refuses to die. And honestly, there are scenarios where he could drag it back, and I don't blame him. On a stage... on a tournament of this scale, until you're completely and utterly dead, there's no reason to tap it out. Okay, when you still have a bunch of Tempest and Templar, you still have a very real threat to the Zerg. No matter how much they have in the bank. Any Zerg player who's ever touched the ladder will tell you. So, but Serral is not just any Zerg player. So, game 4, Amphion. Kind of a spicy map indeed. A good chance for herO. He's kind of crazy with these strategies. We've had some intense back and forth. We've had the passive build-up. I wonder, like, this map is so obviously a Stargate map. I think, therefore I am. But also, herO, I expect something not Stargate, actually. Like, if we're gonna go Adept Glaives, or even like a DT Rush, now's the time. Like, this is so obviously the Stargate map. But then again, what are the mind games for Serral? Like, if you know he knows it's a Stargate map, then maybe you go for a non-star. Let's not go too far down this road. It ends in madness. And here walling off like a normie, which is weird in and of itself. Stargate, which does not mean rushing to Tempest, but could just be a Void Ray into Lave to Depths. Or, of course, could be rushing to Tempest. All right, the options are all there. Serral? Wait, how did he mine through the mineral wall in order to get to the third base over here? And now, based on what he builds out of the Stargate first, there's a probe conspicuously in the corner.
Hell, it's about time.
We will see. They're just anticipating it now, as the first few minutes of Protoss versus Zerg are usually a time for contemplation and speculation and occasionally revelation. But so far, what are you doing? Just a proxy pylon. Not the weirdest thing. Just slaps down. Is he just doing like a straight up gateway attack? He's adding a second gate. Looks like he wants to sell the third base idea. There's no Twilight. Like, this is... Where are you going? Hello? What are you... This Oracle. Ah, yes. The typical kill 2 drones and then take critical damage. That way you don't feel obligated to kill any more drones. Move. A classic tactic. I'm half convinced that's why Protoss do it. Because it's like, well, I tried. But those pesky queens... meddling again. Another Oracle. This one, working through the larva. There's a Twilight. Susan, walk back. I told you to bring that creep. Shut up, Brenda. You didn't say anything. You said that last game. That does not apply now. You have to be specific. I hate my job. Twilight Council. Is it the glaives? He's building up the... Yes, there. 50 Shades with glaives will be the build. The Eclipse follow-up. Throwing so much shade. The Zerg are caught completely off guard. And what has Serral seen? He technically hasn't even seen the third base. Has he seen the Twilight? He saw the Twilight. The Adepts are shady, and he's going glaives when he just sends the Adepts in. You don't really expect glaive Adepts when he's already sent in half a dozen, but here we are. And those first Adepts already getting damaged. He's going to use the Oracles to cut things off. And herO definitely finding some damage here. He sees an opportunity. He doesn't wait. He pounces. So... the drones coming back, does he just cancels 7 drones and counting. Serral taking critical damage. It's not game ending so far, but it certainly is making things difficult. Another wave. Glaive's still not done. More Adepts. Kind of an awkward fight there. And ends up recalling. Loses 9 drones in total. Another wave of Adept. herO! Serral trying to figure out where these Adepts are even coming from now. The problem is, by the time he finds it, Adept Glaives will be fully operational. But wait, there's more! More Adepts on the way. He goes for the evolution chamber wall. No, the Adepts shading off to the side because there's no pathing there. He could just break down. Mr. Protoss. Tear down this wall. And the Adepts will shade through with no building to block them. Are you just... Don't do it. Oh my god. He just goes. More Adepts. The shades into the net. He's just fighting the roaches. Serral is now 5 workers behind. There's Blinken +1 as well. The Adept shades all the way to the third base. The tiny choke point, the checkpoint that's going to be almost impossible to get through. The roaches will have to file in one by one. They don't have speed yet. It's almost done, as this is quite an advanced stage of the game. The queens are congregating. He scouts a 4th base, which Serral ambitiously took before most of this was going on. In fact, he has a 5th base as well. But here come the Blink Stalkers. They're going to take out one of the Overlords. Adepts will shade in again. But Blank is closing in. +1 still pretty far off, but he's just running them around in circles. I don't know. And Stasis behind. More Adepts working towards the 3rd. Roach is trying to chase. Serral all over the place right now, but none of the places he really needs to be. The Roach Ward itself is revelated and will be taken down, which means really, wow, Broodlings, some of their short lives caught in the stasis, will be timed out. More queens will die. And almost loses a stalker. herO still pressing forward. 65 to 53 workers. The damage is already done. Serral needs to crush this right now. If he doesn't, herO still has plenty of... Okay, he's got a 4th base on the way. He's getting a... Is that a 1st or a 2nd robo? 1st robotics facility. But the Blink Stalkers with +1 are still more than a match for this amount of roaches. herO is still looking very good despite the supply. As, wait, did he rebuild a roach warren? He did, as the first one was dying. If herO can take out Serral's 4th, then he's in pole position to tie things up. Serral has no upgrades. He has roach speed and Zergling speed, and that is it. That's the extent of it. The Oracles buffering the back line, takes out one of the Ravagers. The Zerg, GG! He just taps it out. Serral knows when he's beaten, as the Blink Stalkers are too damn effective. And now, well, we're going to game number 5. Wow. herO just starts throwing Adepts at him. And I love the choice to just send it. You don't, just because you're going for glaives, yes, it doesn't matter how much your attack speed is if they have no units to defend. The glaives increases your attack speed by a huge amount. But if they only have 8 Zerglings and a few queens, you can gut their entire mineral line. So making that call instead of just sitting back and waiting, like if he had waited for glaives, he would have had twice the Adepts, but Serral probably would have had roaches out by that point. And it's much less likely you'll do that sort of damage once roaches are already on the field. So herO making a dramatic yet effective call, and will send us to a decider. Serral looking mortal. But we're going into Site Delta, where things will change either way. Oh, what a series. How many games of the year can we have in a week? Well, they do get a bit... they have a tendency to be clustered around top-tier tournaments. For some reason, we're back to walling off like a crazy person. I see. So far, Serral hasn't really exploited it. In fact, it's helped herO get that extra base a little bit quicker. But, and a Stargate. 5 for 5. I don't think he'll go for the Fleet Beacon rush again. As amusing as it is. It 0 for 2 with the rush to Fleet Beacon. Adept Shade. Traumatizing the queens from earlier. Hasn't been long now. As we get into it, and you made it this far, game 5. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully this has made it just a little bit better. And before we get started, if you haven't yet, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. A more typical, just oracles to start. No Void Ray. The most standard of standard. I'm trying to sneak up on them. Okay, Brenda. Stomping around like that. Oracles. We're gonna have the Triumvirate to start. 3 Oracles, usually 1 back at home to defend, 2 to poke and prod and threaten drones and constantly scout. Also giving some cover to the Adepts, who run the risk of getting overrun. That's a sentence. By the Zerglings without them. Forge and Twilight on the way. It looks like both players defaulting back to their most comfortable and common builds for Game 5. Twilight Forge with Blink. And 3 base Queens and Zerglings for Serral. Well, it's not Blink yet, but it will be. Wow. Oracles rack up another 6 drone kills. See if he recalls it out. Whoa! Gotta be careful. You don't micro it. They can get to the corner, but if they wander a little too far off, the knitting needles can hit them. What? Susan, no! Oh my god! I will have my revenge! Not now! How many times? God damn it! Oh, a bunch of Adepts. The shady bunch on the way across. And an awkward time. He lights up. Oh, and then he runs out of energy immediately, so he's not able to delay the base. And the Zerglings are in position to box out the Adepts. And what could have been a pretty devastating delay instead will end up being a mediocre timing. Stasis falls away. Second stasis invalidated. Gets a little more than maybe bargained for, but so herO kind of fumbling that one on multiple fronts. Doesn't end up killing any more drones. Ends up losing all of the Adepts, and the Oracle's badly bruised and out of energy. So Serral gonna be breathing just a little bit easier as we get into the next stage. Oh, Infestation Pit already on the way. Potentially unlocking that hive. Small chance of Swarm House. Blink Stalkers and +1 now finishing up. But herO not really with enough units to threat. He didn't delay enough with the Oracles and the Adepts, so he's in a bit of a precarious position when it comes to either taking a 4th or putting on any aggression. He's gonna try it. Oracle Stasis, there's no Pylon or Warp Prism to back it up here, which means this is a bit of a risky business. Gonna try to target down some of it. Stasis caught. Ooh, well, that actually was good enough to prevent the flank, and now one of the Queens gets assassinated. Hive is on the way. Serral not dilly-dallying around with the Swarm House. Instead, straight to Hive, Lurker Den as well. +1 ranged attack for Serral, but +2/+1 already on the way for herO, so he's looking very good in the upgrades department. He's progressing his tech strongly. He's got Charge on the way, Templar Archives, as well as a robotics facility. And he's going to have all the fixins of a later game Protoss composition. Psionic Storm in production. Serral just gonna go for that. He's not, there are no brakes on the Lurker train. He's gonna get them so quick. He's going to have Hive Tech ready by the 10 Lurkers with Hive Tech by the 10-minute mark, while herO is still clearly putting together his army composition. The Lurkers will be fully operational by the time the Protoss army arrives. And especially when Serral saves up a Contaminate to delay the production of Psystorm, which, well, certainly ties it together. 6 Lurkers on the way. And Serral, let's see those adrenal glands. You can do it. You can remember that most critical Zergling upgrade, and you can do it before noticing your Zerglings are not having a mini seizure when attacking. We will see that. Lurkers, there is Revelation available, but the Queens and some Spore Spine. No Adrenal Glands yet, but Lurkers are by far the highest priority. More Queens on the way. herO trying to get aggressive, but it's getting riskier. He doesn't even have Storm done yet because of that Contaminate. So with the Templar, 10 seconds out. Seismic Spine's done. Lurker range complete. Adaptive Talons for Lurker Burrow speed on the way. Serral expanding to the north side, but this is a very dangerous Protoss army. If the Lurkers are not in position, the gateway units are more than enough to deal with the Roachling right now. The Templar, even their water balloons contributing. He just takes out the base. Serral down to 4. herO equal. Adrenal Glands and Hydra speed now. Serral getting it. herO still with down 30 supply, but his army value is comparable to that of Serral. So he just has the most expensive units out there. And it's only going to get more expensive as once again, and in a much more typical fashion, the fleet beacon is lit and the Sky Toss called in to support herO in this deciding game. 6 more cannons on the way. Mothership carriers could be very helpful against the Lurkers, which, well, from underground is hard to shoot up. Nidus Worm in the main. Does herO have Warpins? herO? Yes, okay. Mothership on the way. Army to the north and the south. He's going to divide and try to conquer. A Phoenix on the way. The Nidus... Hey, the Nidus finishes... Oh, no! Adrenalin's done. Down goes 1 base. herO able to take it out. Trying to force Serral into a very awkward fight. He loses his 5th. The Zergling sharking around looking for an opportunity. The Oracle's on top of everything. Lurkers kind of caught out in front. Might be able to get one of them. And again, an Immortal. Surrounded by Zerglings, which take quite a while to kill it, but eventually do so. He only has +1 melee attack, despite the Adrenal Glands, and there's +2 armor on those Immortals. But wait, there's more! Oh no! The Zerglings, 2 more Immortals and a Templar. About the best possible pickup. The Nidus Worm, an escape Nidus, he pops back out, but the Stalker's already on top of it. 2 Lurkers are able to burrow. Nidus at the front. And Lurkers, that door's open. You can come in. He's just gonna jam it down. And somehow, like, there's just some sort of mind force field here. We've arrived! Here comes a mothership! As things are escalating, the Queens all pop out! And here come the Templar as well. Transfuse is holding it together. Is there detection? Down goes an Oracle. The Queens will mostly escape. Some of them sent back into the Nidus. But wait! On the other side, a huge attack from herO. Trying to take out the base, but he lost his detection. There are no observers. He can't kill the Lurkers. And now Serral will surround and eviscerate that army. It's completely sliced into pieces. He did lose his hatchery, though. The Lurkers are still working their way through into the natural. Another base. Roach Hydra. A few Lurkers piling in. herO down 70 supply. Ricky, the accidental swarm host. And Michael, the accidental Muta. Or maybe that's not an accident. I don't know. But why would you make a Muta and not a Corruptor if you wanted to take out Warp Prisms? But Serral clearly feeling the stress as Ricky is called in. But still, 50 supply lead. Serral lost his hatchery, though. His income is now actually at a slight deficit compared to herO. And Lurkers are good, but they really need a surprising amount of babysitting against these complex Protoss armies. If herO gets us around with Templar, then the Immortals can just bash right through the Lurker lines. Does Serral have a Spire? He has a greater Spire, even. But not too much anti-air. Serral with 3,400 minerals, but only 200 gas in the bank. Whereas herO is not even maxed out, but he has a lot of gas. And Ricky, I'm helping! He uses the Locust. He uses the Locust from Ricky to drop down a Nidus. Completely unnecessary. I always appreciate it when that accidental swarm host becomes a part of the composition. Dark and Serral both well experienced in using that one swarm host. As a matter of principle, of course. And the Queens again popping out with the Nidus. The Roaches and Hydras again. And herO up the center. He's not even bothering to deal with the lurkers on both sides. A Queen caught out. The mothership retreats. What a game. I know. The Overlords are here. Not sure why. They're probably rallied out onto it. This base will most likely be taken down. The lurkers are at the natural. They're at the gates. And tearing down the gates as well. Another Immortal. Sliced up in an attempt to retreat. Another attack. The Hydras will take down both players, losing all of their bases. The Nidus, the escape Nidus. There's nowhere to run. And this time, it's herO. He closes in, and he just smashes the lurkers. Serral drops down to 180 supply. herO supply blocked at 180 supply. Loses another base. 3 bases. I don't know how many Serral actually has mining. He has, okay, 4, 5-ish. What's the, just this tab. Okay, the income is in favor of Serral. All right. Okay, take a breather. Like 187 to 184 supply. Serral has reestablished his bases, but herO still has a very dangerous army. Motherships. There's still a lot of static defense for Serral. The spines, the spores. He's counterattacking. Whatever happened to Ricky? He died at some point. There's a single Muta out there. The Queens are still sewing it all together. Meanwhile, the Zealots warped in to defend as herO tries to expand for the umpteenth time. The creep. He's expanded the creep onto herO's base. A single Tempest, no! 2 Archons on the way. Recalls back. To where? Oh, the 3rd. To try to defend the Zerglings over the top. And the Immortal. Wait, no, he recalled to the Mothership. It will take out this base. Wait, no, kill the base. He gets it. He gets the hatchery. Another Nidus, but there's Zerglings on the 3rd. The Mothership, a strong gust of wind would knock it out. Does he have the full recall? He has the Nexus recall still. He can come back home, or he can just glide there. He chooses the full recall. Gonna lose one of his Templar. The shield battering keeps another one intact. Merges in a happy merging between 2 very loving Templar to create an Archon. Lurkers and Infestors on the way. Melee attack to level 3. I have no idea. We are 17 minutes in. They both have ridiculous armies. This has been a tournament and a year of incredible, insane, unbelievably clickbait level games. But this, I think, is topping all of them. And I still have no idea who's winning. Like, herO actually has money in the bank. Serral is running out of mining. In this sort of state, it's very hard for the Zerg to commit to anything. He doesn't have any money in the bank. It's up to Serral right now to find a way to deal with this army. He doesn't have the income. herO has now slowly but surely built up an army that can only really be challenged on creep. If there is no creep, if the Queens can't actively participate. Now, of course, Serral has creep in surprising places, which... not really an innuendo unless you want it to be, but no, everybody turn around. Tries the Nidus, not gonna happen. herO tried to expand at the top, right? Serral's reestablished a couple bases, 64 to 70 workers. 3 Broodlords on the way. Plus, just now getting the flyer attack upgrades is Serral. Something, well, at the same time, herO doesn't have any of the Stargate upgrades either. He's got 3/3 on the ground. He's working on +2 shields. Still sharking around. Well, his only air unit right now, besides the Tempest, he's been... The roach pops up, tries to snipe off the probe. The probe, with exactly that amount of armor upgrades. What is down there? Is that a drone? Yes, there's a drone burrowed at this base. The details, the intensity. Imagine the pressure on herO, but also imagine the pressure on Serral. Serral, the guy who's supposed to win everything with ease to the point that it's almost a spoiler having him in the match. Up against herO, who repeatedly looks like he should retire and maybe not teach anyone how to play Protoss ever, but still somehow ends up winning. Michael, still flapping around angrily, annoying all his friends. Like, herO playing the best Protoss of his career right now, but still struggling against the finisher. This fight, the Storms, the Corruptor softened up, but the Nexus goes down, or is canceled, and it is important at this stage. Another army to the north. herO's small battle groups here. This is the main strength of this stage of Protoss, is dealing with the Immortals, the Templars, and the Archons. And you need a lot more army supply than it costs the Protoss in this scenario. This is like 50 army supply for herO, but good luck finding 50 army supply of Zerg that's going to counter that. The advantage of Zerg is usually the mobility, but here, well, does he have Neural Parasite? He does. Isn't going for it yet, but the Broodlings are hunting it down. Active Cloak, but the Fungal, that mothership's still in the red. I mean, you can't repair it. What, are you going to hire the Terrans? Okay, they're just not great to work with, let's be honest. Joining up with the rest of the army. Yerxina Tempest, get over here. And, well, he knocks it down, but it's going to cost a Corruptor or two. Another Nidus to the north side. The game, it's still anybody's game. There's money in the bank for both sides. They've both been able to reestablish more mining bases, but it's a tenuous economy at best. The tech is still not fully progressed, as this has not been a passive game, but instead one of the most active ones I've ever seen. That we're still a long way. They've both lost over 20,000 resources. In fact, herO's lost more. The fact that Serral has been more cost-effective as a Zerg against this sort of army does not bode well for herO, with his 5 observers gliding along with it. But any one of these fights can still turn it. Serral is trying to chip away at the economy and make it so that no matter what, herO's going to be taking a bad fight. Under the spines of the lurkers slaps down a Darsh. +3 shields on the way as well. Now that's check that one off your bingo cards. Storm. Oh my god. Oh my god. Category 5 storms. An incredible feedback. And the Viper. The Viper was the only thing that was really tying that all together, but herO will now take out a bunch of lurkers. He's gonna annex one of these hatcheries. He's got a lurker though. Serral on 2 of the separate bases. He borrows some of the Tempests and the Archons. If you can't beat him, hire him. And knocks down the Tempest and uses the Tempest to kill the Oracles. Serral uses herO's army against him. It's a disaster. But the Archons are still finding some damage. 27 probes are dead in this exchange. The Immortals, though, the mothership is still alive somehow. The Lurkers continually harass. He lost 28 probes. He brings the army back. How many? There are 3 observers. Where are they? He's not killing these. Hello? It's 32 kill lurker. And all of them probes. The observers finally. But, no. It's a disaster. herO has played such a beautiful game. But Serral, always finding something. herO still had some money in the bank, and he uses it to build Void Race and Flux Veins. He's going to try to fight the Corruptors directly. The Queen Moot gathers as if he catches the Queens off a creep, that is a lot of what has kept all these units together. They take another angle. The creep spread is not there. And now the Corruptors are caught out. He still can't fight off a creep. This is still a very dangerous Protoss army to fight without everything together. And he's going to try to snipe off some of the Broodlords. Doesn't find it. Some of the Broodlings on the chase. Another Nidus. Charge lots. Serral's in now. Serral's leading. Okay, before it wasn't clear who was winning. Serral is winning, but it's far, far from being decided. He doesn't have very much in the bank. He still has an army that can easily die if the Protoss looks at him the wrong way. If the Broodlords are completely out of position, like the income has gone back in favor of herO. He's been able to reestablish. In fact, herO has more workers. Feedbacks across the board. Those queens. The emotional and physical distress of that level of feedback. He loses a lot of the queens and much of the energy. Zealots still, there's nothing that... Those are fully operational, fully up... I was wondering why the Dark Shrine was there. That is such an odd choice, but... These are the strongest Zealots you will ever see. 333, fully operational, fully upgraded, even the shields. That changed my life for ire, guys. You guys are like Tacit. Mothership. 14 kills. With the pool noodles, lasers it throws out there. Scouting Corruptor. And herO is back to 200 supply. Now, what? That's a Nexus. I think both players kind of not even realizing. Fungal misses the mark, but the Mothership drags the army to the other side of the map, and he's gonna knock out one of the hatcheries. You can't recall the Zerg. The Nidus, you can't send your Broodlords and your Corruptors through. The Immortals are blasting apart the base. 2 hatcheries dead. Serral down to a single mining base, whereas herO still has 2 of them. And I think that the game is right back even now. Serral has a little more in the bank, but herO lost nothing at the escape Nidus. Serral gets like half of his drones out there, and slowly but surely building up his army supply. He's finally clearing out this creep. How many observers? Just 1. His robo is depowered. That's his only robo. He's building... Wait, what? How do you even have 2 observers in production? What is this? It's bugging out the production tab. He only has 1 robo. How can you possibly have 2 observers in production? That doesn't even make sense. The game is broken. I know that's a normally clickbait exaggeration, but I have no idea what that issue is. Somehow herO has 2 observers bugged out in 1 unpowered robo. But the base! The transfuses were late. Not that there was any mining needed, but at this point, production facilities are an important part. The mass Void Ray. He has 8 Void Rays, 6 Tempest, 12 Templar, 7 Immortals. Fire Carapace level 2 is done. 2-2 in the skies. They're both maxed out. 27 minutes in. Alright, well, Immortals blasted. The Lurkers carved away. You can't really afford to lose hatcheries at this stage. Serral! He's killing probes with the Lurker. The Templar at full energy. The Zealot takes out the Lurker. Serral? He's looking kind of low. Oh, there's the fungal. There's the fungal. And another one. The feedback's coming through, but is there a follow-up? Parasitic bomb on top of the mothership of all things. Time Warp coming through. Infestor's coming back around. Where are the queens? Catches the mothership. And finally, knocks it down. But it served its purpose well. And this exchange will end. Carriers? This absolute madman. It's like the most expensive unit, the highest upkeep, carriers. Oh, but the Void Rays, he ate so much damage with Parasitic Bomb. Those Void Rays will not be repaired. They're at half HP. There's no healing that. In fact, like, it's an awkward scenario because you almost want to just throw them away and rebuild them. But those things aren't free. You can't just go buy some refurbished Void Rays. You're just going to end up with the same ones. So having the Void Rays at half HP here is pretty devastating. Going into another fight, they're going to be pretty close to dying outright from Parasitic Bomb. And herO has a tendency to accidentally clump up his units with the Select All Army Hotkey. But Serral, look at the money in the bank. He's broke. Effectively. The army values are insane right now. Serral's army is 9,900. He's at almost over 9,000 on both resources. This is the most expensive army you could build in the game. Even more than Skytoss, because the Skytoss army is so supply heavy, you can't actually build that many units. That's the difference. Whereas the Zerg army, most of these units are 2 and 3 supply, so you can jam a lot of them in here. And indeed he is. Fungal, Parasitic Bomb, Wombo Combo, doing terrible, terrible damage to all the Void Rays. Knocks them out, but feedbacks. Rebuke the Infestors. Broodlords take out another base. Mothership. Another ship. Changeling's taken down. Serral trying to re-expand. He doesn't really have that many drones. herO has had the economic lead for like 10 plus minutes for the most part. But it's really not. There's still so many minerals out on the map because they've been crushing bases. 5 Nexi and 9 hatcheries have died. Another fungal. The Parasitic Bomb. It doesn't stack. Neither does fungal, but he's just chewing through this. Loses a bunch more Void Rays, replacing with carriers. How many carriers now? 3 carriers, plus 3 ship weapons on the way. No armor upgrades on the air here. The queens. Two zealots. You know, here's the kind of guy who just cannon run this sort of base. Oracle, get over here! Three immortals. Alright. Air weapons level 3 about to complete. Somehow, we're still on the ropes, both sides. Like, for 20 minutes, this has rested on the edge of a knife. Stray but a little. And either player could fail. This, another Nexus, being targeted by the Broods. Maybe a chance for battery overcharge, a little late. Does he have an Oracle for Revelation? I don't believe so. But another base. Bases in the center taken out by both sides. herO actually took out that hatchery. 4 Immortals will make pretty quick work of things. The Oracle's with the Immortals to try to bash through anything there. And the Lurkers are actually repositioning. But 4 Immortals against anything that isn't double-digit Lurkers. Good luck. Yeah, just... Well... Oh, no! Immortals, a very strong counter to Immortals. Serral grabs them. And that is a costly exchange. And by exchange, I mean herO just straight up losing those Immortals. Charge lots less valuable with Neural Parasite, but are they good enough to deal with these Lurkers? Maybe. It's still going to be costly. Serral a little out of position to defend his hatchery in the bottom left corner. The Tempest count is so damn high. I don't think he ever got the Tempest upgrade for building damage. Not that it matters too much. He holds it together. The Immortals, scouting Immortals! No! herO. Well, here we go. And what is there? Throws out the Fungals. Doesn't catch much with the first one. But yanks in the mothership. Time warp on the Broodlords. Actually sets him up for the alley-oop, but down goes the mothership. Storms onto the Corruptors, chasing down the Broods. He's gonna get another one of these bases. Yanks in another carrier. And he's just picking them apart one by one, but Serral just lost his mining bases. All he has is that top right corner. He's down to 22 drones, which means his army supply is massive. 156 to 116. Another Fungal comes out, tries to target down another Broodlord. Void Ray out in front. Another Brood goes down. Storms across the board, softening up everything. More Queens with Transfuse to try to hold it together. Parasitic Bomb onto the carriers. Where are the Templar? Where are the Storms? The recall. He's routed. The Tempests are being chased down. The Broodlords are still intact. The carriers were recalled to the base, but they're still dying. Grabs an Archon. herO losing his critical mass of Sky Toss. The Broodlords are raining down destruction, and there's nothing to answer. Serral may have broken through with almost no income left. The Queens are marching. Finally, revenge. More Corruptors, more Tempests coming up. The shield batteries are out of energy. The knitting needles never run out of ammo. And herO, what does he have left? He's got a few carriers. He's got a couple Tempests. He's Templar and Probes. Probes actually the higher DPS option. And he's gonna try to base trade. He worked with a few Stalkers. He's long distance mining. He's gotta be careful of those Broodlings. Serral has broken the army, but because there's so little left in the bank, there's still a dream. That is a lot of Templar. He barely has the mineral. He's warping in Templar because he has 1,300 gas and 200 minerals. It's a prayer now for herO. But somehow it's still not quite over yet. But Lurkers, Serral's still rebuilding a good anti-ground army. herO's army supply is tiny. He couldn't quite. He lost his Templar too early on in the fight. And didn't have the follow-up to deal with the Broods. The Corruptors. And now we're back to... It's long distance. My Serral still has no income. Serral, almost literally no income. 300 minerals per minute. From what? A long distance mining as well, but he's about to finish another hatch. How many... Long distance mining probes down to Broodlords. A single Corruptor in the main. I think it may have killed a Stargate. There's still some Lurkers. We're 37 minutes in. There's still a lot of minerals and gas out on the map. Nobody has anything left to mine it. They can't... Neither player can afford another base. We're back to Zerglings. Oh no, he doesn't have detection. Oh, he waited. Hold position on the Lurkers. He held fire, and he just slices through what little is left. There's just no detection here. Serral, he has the Infestors. The Templar help you out a lot, but here come the Broodlords raining it down. No, the Templar are faltering. The Queens will hold the final line. But there's no answer for the Broods. There's no answer to the Infestors. There's no more mining for herO. Serral has reestablished a base with barely more workers than he started with. This... His last unit that he maybe will build, give or take, another mothership. That's what he invests. Almost everything he has left. A mothership. But will he survive to see it? The fungals. GG! WP Serral! After 38.5 minutes. After almost 2 hours. After somehow being more cost effective than the Sky Toss Death Ball. This wasn't the decisive stomp that we expect to see from Serral. Instead, one of the closest matches in StarCraft 2 history. But the finisher survives. And herO and the Protoss will fall. What a game. What a series. And I think we can just retire. That's it. We're not going to top that. Hope I made your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, all that. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.
Hell, it's about time.